Hello, welcome back. This is your instructor, Gennaro Washington here, CEO of Koi Tech Solutions, and I'm bringing you ACSMI, where we're talking about emerging threats and technologies. Well, let's get started, shall we? The introduction. The field of cybersecurity, like we mentioned before, is always in a constant state of evolution. There's always something new happening. There's always some form of threat, some form of countermeasure, some form of tool that's going to be used to detect threats, prevent threats, and also exploit vulnerabilities. So as we go through the process of understanding cybersecurity and the foundational aspect of it, keep in mind that there are going to be constant advancements within this technology, within this field. So as our ecosystem expands, so do the vulnerabilities. Why is that though? Well, think about it. As we bring more devices onto the network, I mentioned before, IoT devices, your refrigerator now has Wi-Fi. As we bring these devices onto the network, this opens up another hole in your network. Another exploit could be done on this actual refrigerator with Wi-Fi because it's now a node, because it's now on the network. It can be reached as well. So keep that in mind when you're plugging up your new refrigerator or you're telling your toaster to make you some toast from your phone in the other room. Understanding the emerging threats and the technologies that are used to mitigate this is absolutely essential. And this is for anyone that wants to become this cybersecurity expert. I always say, in order to become the 6-figure, 7-figure cybersecurity professional, you have to be willing to go a lot more in depth. You have to be willing to explore the topics such as these. Now, we have the ability to build on our foundational knowledge, but that's not where we start, or at least stop. I should say, what we really want to do is have a foundation built around actual real-world scenarios, technologies that are utilized, real-world aspects of understanding how can a person that is looking to defend against the network actually do that? What tools are utilized in order to do that? That is what we talk about. That is what we go a little bit more in depth on. Using the same verbiage that someone in the industry would use will absolutely give you advanced insights, and it'll help you master these topics of what we're going to be talking about. Now let's dive into some of these key points because this is important. APTs, ransomware, IoT vulnerabilities, these are all emerging threats. So much so that every time you hear about a new data breach, it's probably going to be a different APT. An APT, think of like this as a team of advanced, persistent threats or individuals that know how to go a little bit further, actually get a backdoor on this system. Do a little bit more than just your normal day-to-day phishing attempts. Now, they may use some undetectable malware too. They may use malware that's probably morphic or what have you, and it changes its makeup right upon execution. These APTs, they're going to demand that, hey, the defense itself, right, it has to be adaptive. But what does that really mean though? Well, think about it like this. Now we have the rise of AI and the tools that are utilized with this. Now, if you want to be able to detect an APT, you want to use AI-driven intrusion detection type of systems. Because again, what they're doing is they're trying to make it as undetectable as possible. So it's on our best interest to, well, be a step ahead. Now, a lot of the APTs are going to be involved around targeting these large organizations and governments. Why? Because, well, that's a bigger target. More payout, if you will. Ransomware, the evolution of this, and we talked about that, some sessions ago, but think about it like this. Now, as we emerge with ransomware and the evolution of that, now they're going to actually target the backups. Why wouldn't they do that? Because again, if you have a good backup, a known good backup, you can just, let me just restart again. Let me just put this backup in, right? Let me bring it back up to speed to my last known good configuration. Well, you have the term now called double extortion because you can absolutely attack the main systems, but also you want to attack the backups. So now they really don't have anything to back up to. And they're going to leverage the cryptocurrency aspect of for transactions. Of course they would. Harder to track. So modern ransomware campaigns, they're going to exploit RDP, remote desktop protocol. These are vulnerabilities. right? Within the room desktop protocol, and if you haven't used before, the port is 3389, and it allows you to see what's on the desktop in the window if you remotely control it or remotely connect to it. Okay. The IoT vulnerabilities. I talked about your refrigerator and your toaster. This is kind of what we're talking about, but smart screens and smart devices or thermostats now, they have that capability to connect to the Wi-Fi. Even myself, I can go and on my phone, change the temperature if I really wanted to. Turn on and off an alarm, but you can do that from your phone. So these are just examples of these IoT devices that are being utilized on a day-to-day basis. Keep in mind that there are always going to be social engineering techniques afoot. There will be. Now there's SMS phishing. I get text messages almost every other day. Hey, click on this link. You won this or that. I didn't really read anything. I didn't go for anything. I didn't even use Amazon. I use Amazon. But keep in mind that there is a transformation that has to be done within this field. So you want to use transformative technologies. And we talked about this before, where we have zero trust, where we're not going to trust anybody. Okay? You never want to trust, but you always want to verify. Blockchain technologies is on the rise now. Blockchain secures decentralized networks. We're used to a centralized networking environment. Think of Active Directory, but now it's decentralized. Now it's going to help by creating some tamper-proof digital transaction records. Think of your secure contracts and things along those lines. Quantum computing, like we talked about before, and the risk with cryptography is going to be able to really break the strongest cryptography algorithms that we have to date. Absolutely, it will be. There are always going to be risks associated with how we go about doing things if we're going to add in more technology. So we want to prepare ourselves. How can we best prepare ourselves? Well, we want to build a foundation that's strong and resilient, that's going to have cybersecurity excellence at its forefront, which is going to be continuous monitoring, knowing about the frameworks. So we talked about GDPR, HIPAA before, and understanding that if you're going down a certain path within cybersecurity, it's more likely going to align with a certain framework. Ideally, it should, but sometimes it may not. But there's always going to be something that you can gravitate towards. So understanding the technical side is essential, but also understanding that, hey, there's a strategic mindset. It's a mind shift a lot of times that you have to go into. And some of those key elements are going to be the frameworks and standards, understanding the ethics and compliance around what type of framework is being enforced, as well as continuous learning, because we always want to continually learn. I always think about it like this. Come with security in mind, yes, but look at it from the eyes of a student. You're right now in a student environment. I'm always looking at everything like a student too, because there's always something that I can learn. So there's something that you can take along with you. So some strategies to stay ahead of these threats. We have what we call proactive security assessments. Now this is us conducting pen testing. And we talk about what a pen tester does. You can even look in the aspect of a CEH, an ethical hacker. Think about your threat intelligence integration. We're using threat intel platforms to monitor global crime, and it's going to give us insights around what's happening. We're able to correlate the different logs. We're able to correlate what's happening in the world regarding a certain APT. That's very useful because you may detect some string of malware, some string of a virus, or whatever the case is, a worm on your network, and you can tie that back to some of those TTPs, the tactics, techniques, and procedures that are being done. You want to automate these tasks like patch management too, and incident response, using like playbooks, for instance. Because again, we know that we do things. Human beings can do things, and there can be errors taking place. But if you're automating these tasks and utilizing computers and AI to help, it'll best put you in a better position. Soft skills are very, very important. You want to be able to critically think and solve problems and be a really good communicator. No longer will we sit in the basement. No longer will we sit in the back staring at our screens and we can't communicate. No, we have to have soft skills in this industry. You have to be able to convey these complex topics and risk to non-technical individuals or stakeholders, if you will, because, well, we want to ensure that everyone knows and understands what we're talking about. It can't just be jargon all the time. Let's talk about a real example. So let's talk about number 3, mitigating IoT device risk using segmentation and security gateways. So the scenario, a smart energy company finds that its IoT enabled grid controls are vulnerable to command injection. Now, this is due to unsecure communication protocols being utilized. So, an advanced solution. You want to segment these devices. You want to isolate them in their own network domain. Yes, you can do that. You want to be able to prevent lateral movement, because think about it. Once an attacker gains initial access to the network, it may not be even an account. It may be a service account or something like that. But it's able to go and, try to figure out what's around it, try to scan what's around it once it has access to that one system. So if you can think about me moving myself into another system just based upon the vulnerabilities that are present on this other system, or the same vulnerabilities, then yes, that's lateral movement. So you want to be able to segment out these networks. So the use of VPNs, use of security domains, these all help. So you want to use IoT gateways to analyze, right? You want to analyze and filter all incoming traffic that's coming in. Think about the zero trust aspect. We want to, never trust, but verify. So we want to verify all the traffic and filter it all as it's coming in. And then you want to implement what's called device hardening. So think about it like this. If we know that a system by default is going to be vulnerable, we want to harden that system as soon as we get it. Right? We want to harden it as soon as we get into our system. And then we want to proactively monitor some IoT traffic, right? And with behavior analytics kind of turned on, right? Because we want to see the behavior of certain patterns that malware can be actually being done, right? It's able to understand. Think of like a honeypot 2 or a honey net. All we're doing with that is we're looking at what behavior is being done, what patterns are showing up from a exploited or from a piece of malware. So some tools that allow you to do this is Cisco IoT Threat Defense. It helps with security monitoring and segmentation. Azure Sphere, right, if you're looking to secure your IoT devices and the communication. We talked about it being unsecure communication protocols being in use. There's also Palo Alto Networks IoT security platform, and then MQTT Analyzer for secure IoT communication. It's all about the communication protocols. It's all about what's communicating what, who's talking to who. Because if you know that, you have a better chance of understanding how can you harden a device to make it to where you're able to filter information coming in and going out. And that is what's going to help you secure the actual device itself. That's all I have for today. Again, it's been great. Gennaro, CEO of Cortex Solutions, here on behalf of ACSMI. It's been great. We are just learning about emerging technologies. And think about it like this. There's always going to be something different. There's always going to be something new coming on the horizon. You just have to position yourself in a way that's going to make you stand out. Key. So go along your career path. Understand where you need to go, where you need to position yourself to be ready for these opportunities as they show themselves. Thanks again. Take care. See you next time. Thanks.